Saddleworth is nested in the Pennine Hills, at the meeting point of Yorkshire and Lancashire, on the northern tip of the Dark Peak. Among its hills today are a chain of peaceful villages and hamlets, and in the valleys the River Tame and Chew Brook wind quietly through. It's a landscape where borders have long been contested, and where the enduring presence of the white rose hints at its deep-rooted identification with Yorkshire. The rising hills created natural gateways that historically guarded two eastward routes across the Pennines, where they gave way to high, desolate moorland. This was once a fierce borderland, held by ancient kingdoms and scarred by long-forgotten rivalries. In the 5th century, following the Roman withdrawal from Britannia, small Celtic kingdoms re-emerged in the Old North. The Kingdom of Elmet arose in what is now West Yorkshire, while to the north and west lay Reged, occupying areas that broadly correspond to parts of modern Cumbria and Lancashire today. For 2 centuries these kingdoms faced fierce border battles, and Saddleworth stood even then, disputed and on the frontier. An old story emerges from those once dark ages about 2 giants who made their homes on either side of the valley. One was Alfin, who lived high on the hill we now call Alfin Pike. The other was Alder, who claimed the opposite ridge, now known as Alderman's Hill. Nobody knew how they arrived or why they chose that ancient place to settle. For giants tend to appear without family or childhood or even history. They just are. Twice the size of a normal man and broad as oaks, Alfin and Alder were the only ones of their kind for many miles, and having no other family, they became friends. But despite their great size, the people of the valley never feared them. They were protectors of the land and of the communities scattered beneath the moors. When heavy winter snows sent rocks tumbling down and blocking the paths, the giants would clear them away with ease. When sheep vanished into the mist, a giant hand would rise above the heather to rescue them. If danger threatened, a single roar from Alfin or Alder sent intruders fleeing for their lives. For many years the giants lived in harmony, but then everything changed. One morning, Alfin heard a voice coming from the brook. It was unlike any sound he'd heard, soft and musical. Curious, he came closer. There in the stream stood the water nymph Rimmon, her long dark hair swirling around her shoulders, her clothing shimmering like running water. Fearless, radiant, she smiled, and Alfin felt the first spark of love. From that moment he followed her everywhere, and they became inseparable. Now, water nymphs usually stay in the lowlands, dancing in rivers or drifting across still lakes. But Rimmon was curious, and so together they explored even the high places. And as the first snow fell, Alfin made Rimmon a cape from swan's feathers to warm her shoulders. Soon Alder noticed his friend's frequent disappearances. One day he followed Alfin and saw Rimmon for himself. Instantly he too fell under her spell. Though Rimmon loved Alfin, Alder tried again and again to win her love. If Alfin wove her hair with daisies, Alder brought a whole bouquet. If Alfin climbed the tallest pear tree for the sweetest fruit, Alder brought apples even juicier. The giants' rivalry grew stronger, but Rimmon always saved her warmest smiles for Alfin. The day the peace finally shattered was when Alder found Alfin embracing Rimmon, kissing her with a tenderness impossible to mistake. His jealousy exploded. He shouted insults, he cursed them both, but Rimmon only held Alfin tighter. As the 2 giants headed home, Alder went storming back towards his own hill, shaking with fury. In the valley, sheep scattered and beasts bolted. In his fury, Alder gripped a massive rock, turned back and hurled it towards his friend, missing Alfin by only a few feet. Quick to anger, Alfin responded, lifting a boulder above his head and flinging it back with thunderous force. Then Alder, blinded by anger and jealousy, and no longer remembering their friendship, prized free a colossal boulder, and with a roar he launched it and it struck Alfin squarely, knocking him backwards. Silence followed. When Rimmon realised that Alfin was dead, her grief tore through the valley like a gale, her wailing echoed for miles, and her tears poured into the stream until it became a raging torrent. In her anguish, Rimmon climbed the dark rocks of Alfin Pike and threw herself from the top, diving like a swallow through the air, choosing death to be reunited with her beloved. The villagers placed her body gently in the river, letting the waters carry her down to the eternal sea, as was the custom for water nymphs. Alder's rage changed to sorrow as he realised the full horror of his actions. He wandered for years doing only good deeds, and the story of the giants was almost forgotten. But Saddleworth's hills remember. Alfin Pike and Alderman still face each other across the valley, their slopes scattered with boulders, and when the softest rain falls over Saddleworth, locals call it the Tears of Rimmon. Not tears of sorrow, but of joy, rain that celebrates a water nymph's eternal reunion with a giant she loved. Like many legends, this one may hold a deeper meaning. Perhaps the giants were really the ancient armies of Celts and invading Angles doing battle, with Rimmon possibly a Celtic deity, or the name of the valley they fought over. History echoes through the hills of the Old North. The Celtic kingdom of Elmit at last fell to the Angles in the early 7th century. But in the beautiful hills and valleys around Saddleworth, the stories of Rimmon and the giants survives. A tragic tale of friendship lost to jealousy, love stronger than life, and the way a landscape keeps its memories long after the people have gone.